Hey everyone, it's Dave Barnett from davidcbarnett.com, blog site, YouTube channel, iTunes and SoundCloud and Google Play podcast, where I talk about buying, selling, managing and financing small and medium-sized businesses. And if you recall, a few weeks ago, I came back from Kilimanjaro, and in the video I made after that, I told you guys that I had intended to make recordings with some of my fellow travelers while I was on the mountain, and that every night I was just totally exhausted and it didn't happen. So true to my promise, I brought some more of my fellow travelers onto the program. So today I've got Ralph and Lucy McCrae, who hail from Miramichi, New Brunswick, and you guys were on the hike with me. How are you guys doing today?
Good. Awesome. It's Friday.
There you go.
Going up for dinner.
So tell me honestly, because Lucy, you are a regular marathon runner, correct?
Yes, I've run 6 marathons in the past. I don't do distance anymore, but yes, I'm a runner.
Okay. And so you're physically fit. How did you find the trip up to the top of the mountain?
I found the trip amazing. I certainly my fitness contributed to it. My concern was the altitude sickness, which we know fitness has very little to do with it, right? So
it's a very individual thing with how someone reacts to that.
Yeah. Our biggest concern was doing what we were told to do, right? Yeah. Going slow, taking your meds, drinking the water, eating the carbs. So yeah.
Ralph, how many marathons have you run?
None, and I'm not going to run any anytime soon.
Yeah.
What did you think about the trip up the mountain?
It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I keep in shape too. Most winters I am in the gym 2 or 3 days a week, ex-military. So I did a lot of running in the past, and I try to keep in pretty good shape. But it wasn't an easy climb. It was a hard climb. I remember you mentioned trying to take a picture of the lights going up the mountain. And after looking up the mountain twice and saying, I don't think I'm going anywhere, I said, I'm not looking up the mountain anymore. I'm just going to keep my head down and keep walking.
Yeah.
Do you think that your experience in the military helped you for getting through some of the difficult spots on that trip?
The military certainly, you learn a lot in the military, and you learn to have the drive. And I remember telling Lucy, I said, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get us up this hill. Yeah. And we did it, and just the drive.
Yeah.
I think the military in the past has shaped him who he is anyway. So yeah. A lot of his way he does things.
So the military, though, is part of the story we're going to talk about today, because and a lot of the people who view this are American and from other countries. So just for everyone who doesn't know, the Canadian military is integrated. So Ralph, you were in the Air Force but stationed aboard a Navy ship, right?
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
For a short period, yeah.
2 years. I sailed at sea for 2 years. Mm-hmm. But I did many things like I mentioned before. I was an instructor on the F-18's maintenance instructor. I worked on the Voodoos. I worked on the Sea Kings and many other aircraft. But most of my career was with fighter aircraft.
Okay. And did your career come to an end when you were living in Halifax?
Yes. That was through the Liberal government due to big cutbacks in the military. And I could have stayed 2 more years and then they would have thrown me out, or they did a buyout and let me go early. So I had to buy out and run.
So the buyout, did that contribute to you making the decision to buy the business that you guys ultimately bought?
You want a quick story on how we bought the business? Like, I'm home, we're living in Halifax. Most of my family's in the Miramichi. And we come home one weekend and my brother said, I got to go fix something for a man. You want to come? I said, okay. I moved down, and he said, he's selling that business if you're interested in it. And I looked at it and I said, well, you know what? I want to come home anyway. So I looked at it hard, and first thing, we were on our way up to Miramichi, and I owned a business.
You know what? At the time, you guys, and we've never talked about this again since, at the time, these guys were very heavily involved in the stock cars. And they were actually thinking on converting it, because we went to see Street's Auto place also to purchase.
Yeah, we looked
comparing that. So, but their goal was to actually do mechanical work and all that, and working on cars there and set it up like that. But then he, started thinking and said, hey, the heck of this. I don't have to do that kind of labor anymore. And he opted not to. And we focused on the recycling and the just the regular salvage, the surplus. Yeah.
Okay, so what year are we talking about? When did you buy the business?
July 1st of 1999.
1999. So it's been almost 20 years now.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And 20 years ago, what kind of process did you go through? What kind of help was there? How did you figure out how to do this operation?
Mm-hmm.
Well, being mechanically inclined, the operation itself was kind of come natural. It's a scrap metal business, but there is a lot of equipment involved with the scrap metal business. And
well, I'm talking about the deal. I'm talking about making the deal.
The deal was very difficult. First of all, we cashed our RSPs, took a big hit there. Then when it come to banking, because we were new to the business, we went to every bank, our previous banks, no one would touch us. Finally we had to go to their bank, RBC, because of the fact that that's who they dealt with, of course. And we had to take out some loans, and it was tough, really, really frustrating dealing with. If the military didn't continue to give him his buyout and pay for our trip up and cover some things, I don't think we could have done it. Really, we would have been really broke, and it took us 5 years. Really, we're always in arrears. I think for at least 5 years before we certainly started showing profit. Yeah.
A little excitement when we first moved to the business. We had bought the business. We had bought the house that the previous owner owned also, because it was right beside the business, basically. Okay. And we were moving home, and the trucks are on their way when they called us from Halifax and said, "We can't give you a mortgage."
Yeah.
So it was a little exciting at that time, and
anxious. Yeah. So if anything could happen negative, it did. Yeah. So it was really frustrating for first timers, for sure.
So you ended up with the business and not the house next door.
Oh no, we did. We eventually, I forget what we had to do.
The owners took the mortgage.
Yes, that's what
on the house.
Yep.
And then as we turned it over and we were able to get loans, show that we could run the business, the banks then said, "Okay, we'll give you a mortgage."
Yeah. It was vendor take back for the house. That's right. Yeah.
So basically, you came upon you decided upon a price through negotiating with the seller, and then you tried to finance it. The only way you were able to get the money together was by using their bank, because their bank kind of knew their business a little bit.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it puts you personally in such a situation that at the end of the day, the seller ended up having to finance you anyway, but in a strange kind of way, for the house, not the business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And what kind of track record did you ultimately have to build up before you were able to get that financed at the bank the normal way? Was it 2 years or you said 5 years?
It was close to 5 years, probably, because we didn't get any type of financing through any other source other than banking. I think we went to Carpenter down with like CBDC and those places.
Yes, the story actually, when you think about it, the bank wouldn't give us a mortgage because the owners wanted their money. Basically, they're saying, we'd like to get the money for the house. So we went to the bank. The banks couldn't give it to us, so we went to a mortgage broker, which ended up costing us more money for the mortgage. But he actually got us a mortgage.
That was after the vendor take back, though. Yeah, that was after Bill and we did do the previous owners. We did the vendor take back with them for the house. Yeah. But then when we switched, we went to a broker as well. But I don't recall a lot of the reasons there. But as far as other financing from other, like I said, Wayne Carpenter was a guy in town with CBC. Is that what it's called? I think.
So a lot of my viewers are all over the place. So CBC is like a community business development.
Yes.
Center,
yeah.
And they have a small pool where they'll make loans.
Yeah.
Not a tremendous amount of money, but I think they'll lend up to $100,000 or something. And it's typically for helping businesses that are going to also create jobs.
Yes. Yeah.
How talk about the business back in 99. How big was it as far as the number of employees that worked there? And what exactly was it doing when you bought it?
When we first started, there was me and one other man working the business.
And part of the deal, he had to stay because we knew that we needed him, and he
needed the job anyway. Just two of us, and we worked hard at it day and night. When he went home at 5, I would just start my work. Yeah. And I worked hard to get ahead, and we made the business grow every year. Every year we did something new and grew and grew and grew, and to what we are today.
But at the time, there was just the house and a small garage that he worked out of, a small barn. And the employee, he literally had a little heater that he sat by in the winter, and when he wasn't busy, and never had coffee or tea. Everything was what he brought. And then the garage was not heated, or the barn, what it is, and that's where they did the bottles. And then the metals and that were just all in the yard. And
So at the time you bought the business, it was a bottle redemption center.
mm-hmm.
So people were bringing their empty cans and bottles in to get the deposits back.
Yeah.
And you were also buying scrap metal and things like that from people too. That
Yes.
Yeah.
a salvage yard, basically.
Yeah.
That's right.
Plus, he had a sort of a surplus in that what happens is people bring in stuff, they clean out their garage or their basement, and they bring it in to scrap, and he'd say, oh, this lamp still works. I'm going to sell it as a lamp.
Right.
So that's how the surplus started. And then when Ralph took over, he said, okay, well, let's start buying more surplus, like from Crown Assets, which is what he did. And then through that, we were able to expand on the military surplus. The Crown Assets also involves Human Resources Office, any other government office. So he'd buy desks and different things. So that's how that expanded. Yeah.
So a lot of government stuff, if they closed an
Yeah.
office, they'd pack everything up in a trailer and they basically just auction the whole thing off in one lot.
Cleaning out people's homes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that sort of thing. And that a lot of that would be used as opposed to being junked away. Yeah.
And then how big did it grow as far as the number of people working there at your biggest point?
We had 6 employees right now.
In the summer, we've had as many as 8. Yeah.
Okay.
Some summers, yeah. And our building is.
We had a full, at one time we had a full hunting and fishing store, selling guns, ammo, military clothing, new clothing, anything on that side of the.
That was from about 2010 to maybe 2008 to 2014. We were selling hunting and brand new hunting and fishing.
And did that come because of the military surplus? Kind of the hunting and fishing stuff was kind of a natural next step.
Yes.
Your gun shooting.
Yeah, that was well, no, that was just a natural next step. Yeah, and then we moved into that, and that was when we started having a lot of employee problems, getting somebody that wanted to work and wanted to be there.
Talk a little bit about that. Like,
yeah.
What were the challenges and why, just hiring somebody else didn't seem to help?
There was so much to do. I wanted to hire somebody that would take more or less run the store. And I had actually 3 employees running the store. And some of the employees couldn't get along with each other. And so we ended up changing employees. And at the end, then I started downsizing a bit, trying to downsize a bit. And at the end, I just said the headaches weren't worth it. And, if you're not going to be there all the time, which I couldn't be because I was trying to run a scrap metal business and a bottle depot also. So the store was kind of if it could run itself, would have been great, but it wouldn't, you couldn't depend on employees.
Ralph's very hands-on, always running around doing something physical. Like if someone wants something, he's out there doing it. He's got to fix this. If something happens, he works 24/7 doing that. And the store needed him to be, no manager would do what he wanted to be done, sort of thing, or in the same way. Or yeah.
Is it because you weren't able to find anyone who had the ability to run a store, or did it have more to do with doing things the way you particularly wanted them done, do you think?
No, actually, I normally gave free rein in the store. That was one of the problems. I gave free rein. You said I suggested something, but I always from the military, you always ask how they want it done. Let them suggest the way they want to do it, and then if you don't agree with it, then they can be a topic. But if try to let them do their own free rein and run it the way they want to run it. But and that worked to a certain extent. But then things just get out of hand after a while, and
we had one manager that just wanted to do seasonal, and the store wasn't seasonal, right? It was year long, because we had everything in there from not only hunting and fishing, but like the military, we still sold the used stuff. So the military work boots and coats and sleeping gear and all that stuff that it can go all year round. It wasn't just seasonal, but they just didn't want to work to the extent they would. If Ralph was away, they weren't doing what they should have.
When the sun was shining, they wanted to be out boating or doing other things than working in the store.
Yeah, that's the way.
And the unemployment and I hate to say this, but the welfare and the unemployment in this country is ruining this country.
Yeah.
Because as long as they don't work long enough to get their unemployment, then they don't want to do another thing. They want out. And basically, that's what it was. And I said, no, I just can't keep doing this. And
so what was that sort of the final straw then that made you say, let's just get rid of this business altogether? The store part. We
didn't actually get rid of it altogether, but what I did is I stepped it down to only larger items. Like instead of selling guns and ammo, we cleaned that store right out, sold everything off, and then I went to bigger items, office furniture, household furniture, bigger items that people couldn't walk out the door. And then I said, okay, now I can run the store and work around the business, because people want something, they're going to have to ask for it, and they can't steal it. And so I didn't need a store manager anymore.
Okay, so people
weren't purchasing new stuff anymore from a supplier. It was mostly all used stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So today people can walk in there, there's things to sell, but if they want to buy something, they then have to find someone working there to say, hey, I need help, I want to buy this.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so basically what you ended up doing, and how much did that shrink your business when you got out of the hunting and fishing and the military surplus stuff?
I would say, maybe just a quarter. It's still, see, my biggest part of my business was always the scrap metal.
75%.
Our business is 75% scrap metals, and that's where we made our money, with the precious metals and the scrap metals. And so once I get out of the store, that eased up. Then I could put more time on the scrap metals, and that really took off. And
in looking back at the decision to get into the store, do you see it now as a big opportunity that just didn't work out, or do you see it as something that distracted you from your main business anyway?
Distracted me from my main business, really. Yeah. It took a lot of time, and especially with the employees, like I say, people not showing up for work and not even as much as giving a call to say, well, I'm not coming in today. And things like this, just when these things happen, it frustrates you. And then I have to be in the store. And if I'm in the store, then I can't work the shop the way it should be.
Us being able to go to Mount Killy, him being able to retire as soon as we sell, is because of our scrap metals. No ifs, ands, or buts. Yeah.
Right.
So, it was an added feature maybe to bring more people up, but in the end, didn't lose anything because of it. It was less stress on him.
Yeah.
Would have been, it's a nice thing to have, but yeah.
The scrap metal business is a big business where you have a lot of contracts, and you do a lot of business around the city with other businesses and buying in their metals and sorting their metals and that. And that takes a lot of time, and you need some good employees to do that kind of stuff.
So for the past 4 years or so, since the store has been closed, you've been able to give the greater focus on your main business, which is the scrap metals. Since you've been 100% focused on it, how has it improved?
100%.
Well, these past 3 years have been our best, but scrap metals are dependent on the stock market, on the market. So tomorrow they could take a big dive, and he may not be able to retire for another 5 years. Really, if they took a big dive, we won't have the numbers to prove it. So it's a big thing. Yeah.
So it's the general economy. I mean, if there's a demand for new construction, then somebody wants to buy old metal to recycle it into new things.
Yeah. And also, I mean, certainly depending on some of the contracts he has and that, but mostly it's the price of the metals. The price has been good. We shipped out a lot. We got a lot of money. So, the past 2 years, and that's what that boils down to. We had a couple of hard years, really hard years where we are, So anyway, yeah.
You said when you first bought the business, you had a couple of really hard years. Did that coincide with a decline in the price for the product?
I think.
The prices when we bought the business were very low. I'll give you a number example. We were getting paid $40 a ton, but they were taking it out of our yard for us. Now it's up to almost 300 a ton.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
there's a big difference. But you're talking, 20 years. So metals are become more important that way. And in the metal business is not only what you bring in, is what you can sort out of it. And, there's a lot of income that way too.
And the fact that we had loans, we had a house, we had a mortgage, we had all our vehicles. Right now, we have no bills except one big work truck. House is paid for, vehicles are paid for, absolutely everything is paid for. So everything is coming into the bank and to us.
Life is just better in general.
Yes.
We're finally getting on top.
Yeah, exactly. Say that again. Yeah.
So, I mean, Ralph, when you two went to Africa with me, your employees were pretty much able to keep things running out there?
Yes, I have a brother that's actually, he's been running the truck for me for a while. And he's been good. He's a worker, and I did find some good employees that want to work, and he took over, and he's interested in buying it. So he's pretty well running anyway. Yeah. And at this time right now, if I said I'm taking off tomorrow, he can run the show.
Yeah.
That one employee that was with us from day one is still with us. So that means 14, almost 34 years he's been doing this. Yeah. 34 years, this guy.
Since he started back with
He was with them for 14 years, and now it's almost 20 with us. Yeah.
Wow.
That's 34 years.
So reflecting back on your day-to-day life when you were in the military versus your life as an entrepreneur, when you look back on that, what sort of advice would you give a young person? Would you steer them into, hey, you should own a business, or would you tell them that they should do something like join the military?
I always tell young lads, if they're lost, that the military is always a good thing. But and I also say join the Air Force, not the Army. They'd shoot at you less there. I said, but all said and done, to any young lad that wants to get in business today, take a chance, because you have nothing to lose. I was scared to death when I bought my business. I didn't know we were going to survive or not. But I said, we're going to try it anyway. And the biggest thing was, if you don't take a chance, you'll never get ahead. And military is a great life. I enjoyed it 100%. But you're only going to make a living there. If you want to make money, you have to get out and adventure on your own and learn to work for yourself. And you will work hard if you're going to get ahead. But the opportunity is there. Yeah.
The military, I came from a military background, and my son's in the military, our nephew's in the military. I've encouraged many kids that I know, teenagers that are out working at call centers, join the military. There is a lot of benefit to it, but where we're at now, if we had known, but I mean, exactly, his military background certainly set a lot of, put us in a positive place where we're at now, but I don't think for someone to take over a business, it would be a lot of scrambling, but this was in existence, and it all depends on where your background is, for sure. But military has a lot of pros, but certainly your own businesses can have just as much or more. Yeah, for sure.
So I've had a lot of people over the years buy businesses who came from the military, and what I've always seen is that their familiarity with process and operating procedures and setting up methods was very, very useful when they started to take control of a business, because oftentimes that stuff isn't there. Mm-hmm. And did you find that when you started to run this business, that kind of experience helped you get things set up more properly? Or did it take you a while to realize that you had to actually do that?
No, everything was a learning experience, because it was something different that I was getting into. I was walking out of fixing aircraft, and now I'm going to work in a scrapyard. Well, it was a big change, and I had to learn a lot too. So, the old military saying, he said, I had lads walking in late for work. I said, well, I'm paying you from 8 o'clock. I'm not paying you to start putting your coveralls at 8 o'clock. I'm paying you to start work at 8 o'clock. And if you can't do that, then you're not going to work for me, And I expected people to toe the line. I never made anybody do anything that I wouldn't do myself. And I still stand beside my men and work beside them. So you can't say, well, I'm a mean boss or a cruel boss. They don't do anything that I won't do myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as the processes, a lot of it was still learning. The finances was, I've always done, we've always paid out debt as soon as possible, got the lowest interest rates. So we're really good that way. And I think that was a big thing, that we didn't let anything ride, or we've never accumulate interest on anything. So I think that's key, what I would do highly recommend. And we're certainly fair to the employees in terms of their wages and everything. We offer bonuses, we do everything. I'll do a fair amount for them. So, but I think as far as, I don't know, that Ralph was very organized. And that I think probably is a big thing. Ralph, he was organized and a good boss, and he worked with his employees. So
military background, being organized.
Yeah.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
A lot of the people who watch my videos are people who want to buy a business, and they're in a similar position that you guys were at the end of your military career, is that they have a house, maybe there's still a mortgage, they have kids that aren't fully raised, that aren't off to college yet. And so it's scary because they still have all these big obligations, right? And they have something to lose, unlike the young person who has got nothing to lose. They do have something to lose.
Yeah.
In reflecting on the purchase of the business and then what it took for you guys to get to where you are today, is there any kind of piece of advice you would have for those people, maybe the 40-something-year-old person who thinks they want to buy a business? What could you tell that person about it?
It's always scary when you make a big move like that. But if you don't make the move, you'll never go ahead. Yeah. You'll always be a slave to somebody else. And if you're going to be a slave, you might as well be a slave to yourself.
See, and another thing, an advantage that we had is we were moving home. He comes from a big family. They were very, very supportive, all workers. So we needed a new roof. They were there to put it on. They helped him put the new building up. His brothers did. So we saved a lot. Ralph is a mechanic. He fixed a lot. He was able, so those make, like, if my stepdad had bought the business, he would have been out in left field. He doesn't know, he's not mechanically inclined. So to pay to have all those things done, that was another big factor. So I think you'd want to get into a business that you think, that you can do something with. You can't just buy a business, out of the blue and say, oh, that was good for him, it's going to be good for me. Because I don't think that's true.
Well, and I think you're also getting at something else too, Lucy. You're talking about being part of a greater community.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so when you came home to Miramichi after being away for a long time working with the military, what was the reaction like of the people around you in your immediate family? I'm guessing this sounds like they were supportive of this.
Oh, extremely. Yeah.
Very supportive.
Very supportive.
I come from a big family, and we're very close. So it was very good that way. If I needed something, I could just say I needed it, and it would show up.
Yeah.
There was never a question asked.
Sometimes things would disappear too. If the family was around, brother like that.
It's all part of the fun.
But it's all, if not in a bad way.
We always have the joke. When my brother comes over, I always say, "Uh-oh, we're going to lose money again today."
But he's had his older brother worked with us for 4 or 5 years. Guy's been there for 8 or 9 years. We've had nephews in there. My son worked there for a summer. We help out over Neil Ground whenever there's student programs where they need, and so there's lots of programs like that, and we always there to help out, sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, awesome, guys. Thanks for taking the time to talk with me today, because I had a lot of great moments talking with you guys on the hill, and I knew that your story was on the mountain. Because I know your story was a great one, and I knew that there'd be all kinds of people who watch my program that would love to hear some of your experience, because I think that your story really captures a lot of what people are after when they're looking at, buying into especially a small business, right? Mm-hmm. They're looking at something that is not only going to be an investment, but it's going to be their own career, because they want to have that control. I mean, Ralph, you used the word slave. For me, working for myself is all about time, right? I work hard, but I get to choose when I do it. right?
Yeah.
And nobody's going to
Yes.
tell me when I have to show up somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it worthwhile to me, especially now with my young kids, right? Being able to make my schedule work around them. And, you know, I could tell by watching the two of you that you're happy people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard to be that way when you feel like you're under someone's thumb all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's, our freedom is probably the past, 7, 8 years. We've been really, you know, been able to do a whole lot more. And, mind you, since our daughter's been off now, still at university, but we're being able to enjoy life certainly a lot more. But ever since we got into the business, like we never traveled before at all, never had the money.
Yeah.
Military was paycheck to paycheck, you know. So I mean, it certainly taught a lot, but and gave a lot of background for Ralph. But it was paycheck. He had a second job at one time while in the military. Yeah. So so we've come certainly very, very far. Yeah.
I'd just say we've been lucky at life.
Yeah.
It's we worked hard,
Yeah.
but we were lucky at life too.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, have a great day and enjoy the weekend.
Can't wait to have the get together, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Kelly reunion.
I think we're going to Peru next year too. So.
Oh yes, love it.
Good.
Yeah. all going. We're all going. Good. Yeah. It's like I'm not going. Yeah. We are.
Tell me how you make out.
I'll be there. Sounds good.
Take
See
care
you,
of
Dave.
yourself.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.